Hey there, targeted individuals. Tim Young, BSMPA, 15-year, living in Oregon, and doing what I can in therapy at my facility. I am surrounded by NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, EMF perpetrators, and other forces. Pretty much everywhere I go, it's been so. As Kevin Christian describes, they only need to know my physical location, and I'm perpable. The EMF frequency around 3D reality that you have to be like EMF to see, I guess there's a fair amount of tactical and strategic Satanism directed at me there that I'm sort of, most of the time unaware of. In particular, satanic mocking. We were just engaged in some humor the other day. A EMF broadcast consciousness was being, I would say, disciplined with humiliation for being in my room at all. So it may be a lot less bad than it sounds. It may be worse than it sounds. I don't know. I'm not an electromagnetic form being. Seeing all that stuff around, what they would design in Tualatin at Portland State, LA, fucking Nevada, Utah, Bellingham, Washington, Seattle. Oh man, the experience of being in the same room of people that were synthetically, telepathically connected to me in Washington and some of the homeless shelters there was unnerving. Mockingbird, I was still sort of new to Mockingbird being on, and that hasn't turned off for me since. It's been like since 2006, I think Mockingbird picked me, or I kicked on that part of the level of the B system of targeted individualness. So I try not to watch it. Doing okay today. I think it's the 6th of June. Yesterday was my birthday. It went pretty well. Got a chance to say some nice things about my grandfather who was on the second wave at the beaches of Normandy. There's some news commemorating the event in U.S. history and world wars. It's a good month to start a war. So some of the remembrances of Tiananmen Square I saw in headlines. Got to connect with a friend of mine I met in a psych ward who's an aware TI, new to it, and would like to do what I can one-on-one with other TI as best I can to help them learn from my mistakes, share the information that's been shared with me by other TI. Pro bono work, it's best done one-on-one. Like I'm one person. I'm simply not going to be able to do what I feel like I would want for all the 1.5 to maybe 3 million targeted individuals like myself in the United States. It's like individual therapy and advice. Some of the targeted individual group phone calls that I've been on, they've got a lot of tactics on the gang stalker end to disrupt targeted individual organizing. It can get pretty unnerving when somebody wants to be understated, disruptive, and targeted individual discussions and things like that. I saw Ramola D. She's a Twitter disclosure about these matters, and she was tracking a man that I made mention of when I was in Cedar Hills Hospital last, Todd Giffen. I thought it was Griffin. I was mistaken, and he is reporting back. He did not write something that was legal to, I think it was Senator Wyden, and trying to just making up a reason to give him a hard time because he was maybe disclosing about the brain-computer interface invasion of the world. Anyways, she was Ramola D, who, if you're a targeted individual, you may have heard of her name already. She was reporting on Todd Giffen, who was in the Oregon State Hospital here and then got moved to the prisons, and into the prison system he met a EMF gang stalker, likely, who said he could read Todd's mind, and then two other prisoners that also said that they were synthetically telepathic also. I think I may have mentioned this recently in some of the press, at least that I'm getting from the Oregonian, is there's a massive influx of low-level criminals that need mental health care in Oregon, that are being stuck in the prison system rather than getting into the state hospital. And my supposition is that a fair amount of those people may be targeted individuals. Brain-computer interface, remote neural monitoring, gang stalking, torture puppets for the Satanism that I've endured also for 15 years. So there's a real mental health crisis, and it has to do with EMF gang stalking, these satellite systems, and all what Kevin Christian and others describe, and more. Tough choices for the Oregon leadership and the legislature, the governor's office, judicial branch. A lot of those people may be mind control slaves like me. There sure was a lot of them in Seattle, in the homeless shelter there, and then Bellingham. I can't tolerate neurolinguistic programming from anybody else that I can potentially discourage from using that around me at all. Neurolinguistic programming and speaking directly into somebody's head with this tech, with R&M, and having somebody's address and syncing your consciousness to torture them. Neurolinguistic programming is likely what got a kid I saw in a news report that somebody using his mother's voice to torture him, probably with NLP. And then in satanic misdirection with people, he killed his mom and his dad. And that wasn't his mom's voice in his head. It just sounded like it. Seems like, duh, you should have known that. Seems so simple. No, it's extremely deceptive, these techniques. So I'm hanging out, doing what I can, having moments of quiet in my mind. I've been a little more quiet this morning because maybe my perpetrators backed off enough where I could have some space in my own head for a while. Thinking communication to these voices that are always monitoring my very thoughts has become a little more fluid recently. I don't have to, it doesn't seem so foreign not using my vocal cords. But I sure do like to hear myself talk, so you got that going for you. Welcome to the club. Not quite as torturous today, the day after my 40th birthday, and I look forward to the rest of my life. Got to give out some advice to a friend of mine that I met in the hospital, who's another TI that I hope is helpful. Got an email from her around my birthday, and then some other folks on Facebook and Twitter said hello and happy birthday to this geezer. So I can't emphasize enough how extremely I want these broadcasts to end of me as a TI, and to never hear NLP, neurolinguistic programming, again. There was a woman on Twitter recently, I was sort of posting about it after I was given an article or read an article, found one about defenses against NLP, and she was like, oh yeah, the dark ones, she said, use that all the time. I saw it used to overthrow or during an overthrow of 2 judicial hearings, both NLP Satanism and both encounters, in judicial hearings at mental health courts, getting in or out of mental health care. NLP Satanism, EMF gang stalkers overthrew the judiciary. This guy Deep Thought News, who I've mentioned before, I had been following his research since 2016. He was like, back then he was like, courts are a fucking joke, this is a military matter. And since then, my own experience has proven it. So good luck out there, TIs. Feel free to write in the comment section. Ask me any questions you have. I'll do my best to answer them as best I can. And I wish you torture mitigation tactics, strategy, basic needs covered. And I know that's such a struggle for so many of us. Nobody should have ever been in your head like this. I'm sorry.